welcome back, everybody. Tonight we have a guest with us, Paul Wright from the World's Best Podcast.
Hello.
Paul is a friend of mine from high school. I've been on the World's Best Podcast a couple times, which is a pop culture podcast. I know that you're focusing more on the website now, so if you want to tell our listeners about that, where the best place is to find you.
Yeah. On Instagram, I'm doing a lot of stuff on Instagram these days. Yeah.
World's Best Media 2017.
Yeah. So it's so on I post most of my stuff on social media on Instagram these days. Occasionally on Facebook, but if you want to find most of my up-to-date stuff, it's there. World's Best Media 2017, and then there's also my website, which is worlds-best-media.com, and you can get the podcast, which is the World's Best Podcast, literally anywhere you get a podcast.
What a great name!
Thank you. I'm just it was it was just like, I'm just gonna do a podcast. So this is a long time. It was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll just call it the fucking World's Best Podcast.
It works.
Yeah, and I've been doing I sort of got into I'm back doing stuff on the website more frequently, which is kind of nice. And I've been sort of off on the podcast for a while, but I have some new idea. I'm going to be putting some new episodes out. I've been focusing a lot on my art lately. I did this really cool project with you can find on my Instagram. It's called the Kryptonian Epic Sourcebook, which is based in this really cool long form story where it sort of takes the DC it's like a Superman story, but it tells it as if it was almost like a Game of Thrones where there's a definitive beginning, middle, and end, and Clark's the Jon Snow type character.
Okay.
And it's just really it's crazy cool. It's part of it is there's an audiobook. There's a 40-minute animated feature. There's an actual comic book miniseries that started it all off. And it's this and some of the characters that are different enough from their mainstream counterparts that they almost seem like different characters, but it's phenomenal. And when I put that online, I got probably 30,000 people downloaded it or something like that, which was really cool.
That's good traction. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so.
We would love to hit 30,000 on anything we do.
I would say anybody just look up the Kryptonian Epic on YouTube or Instagram. It's a really fucking cool project.
Yeah. I mean, you and I have been talking about it for a few years now, and I think that it's really cool that you made, so what Paul did with that is he made a guide on how to navigate it, because there's so many pieces,
Yes.
It's one of those things where you're, it's like when someone tells you to go check out Doctor Who, and you're like, where the fuck do I start? Which is cool, especially my son's been getting into a lot of different fandoms lately, and he's trying to get us into them. I'm like, I don't know the first thing about this, and so having those guides.
Better way to put it.
Yeah,
than I did.
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Having those guides is so helpful because it can be overwhelming when you're coming into something that's a million words in over the course of 10 different mediums, so it's a really cool guide.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. I just bring it up because it's probably the biggest thing I've done lately that got the most attention. I had some collaboration with the creators, which is really cool, and other artists and stuff who had worked on the actual project. Really, they were just, I think, kind of flattered by what I was trying to do, and I was really impressed how they sort of allowed me to collaborate a little bit with them. So it was a
Nice.
lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm trying to do stuff like that lately.
So I was about to say, so that's the thing that you got the most amount of interest in. What's the thing that you want to do next?
I'm thinking like something similar to how you guys just describe how you sort of format your podcast. I'm of the mind, and I'm sure you guys agree, that anytime you do something creative, once you start doing it because you think like, oh, I got to put one out this week, it's time to stop. And I started the podcast in 2017, and probably like 2 years ago, maybe 2.5, it started to feel like more of a chore than a fun thing. So I haven't really been doing it, and I just got really into my like digital art, meaning like I just utilize an Apple Pen and my tablet. It's a fantastic tool for artists. And I've been just trying to develop those skills and tell my own stories that way. And so what I want to do with the podcast, I find myself like ranting to like my dad at like 12:15 in the morning about like 12:15 at night about the latest pop culture thing that has driven me crazy. And so instead I'll just yell into a microphone, and I'm thinking do it just shorter episodes, because I used to do these big sweeping like hour 2 hour podcasts, but I think I'm gonna start doing like something that's a little smaller and just covering whatever it is I want to talk about at that given time.
So today we're going to be talking about Hell or High Water from 2016 or 17?
16.
16. This was it was kind of for people who are familiar with the Yellowstone universe. Taylor Sheridan wrote this, and while it's not his first big thing that he wrote, it's kind of the first dive into that Western. He wrote Sicario before this, but then it was this he wrote. It was his first Western, kind of.
I did not know that connection.
This since he became this big television juggernaut.
Yeah.
And so when I rewatched it and I saw, oh shit, this is written by Taylor Sheridan, I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I kind of enjoyed Yellowstone, and I think a lot of even Sicario, you see, there's a lot of themes he likes to play with in his shows that are present in those movies as well. But anyway.
Yeah. So we picked this for Westerns Month because we wanted a variety, and this is a modern day Western. So I don't know that they say exactly what year, but they definitely mention it being the 21st century. And there's enough things in there. I mean, I don't remember seeing cell phones specifically to know like, oh, that was 2005 or whatever, what year it's supposed to be, but it's pretty modern. So that was the big reason why we picked it, was to juxtapose against more classic Westerns that we've covered. And then our focus is going to be desperation and the American dream, as shown through this movie.
Yeah, and for me, that theme played out. And actually, before earlier, Paul was even saying, yeah, like I made notes, and I make notes in my paper notebook the same way he might. And it was like, yeah, no, these are the first two things that came out. And I think actually when Mike said, what theme do you want for this episode, that might have been my first suggestion. And this, for me, is a modern Western where the frontier is gone, but the violence of that shootout, gunslinger, murder, not mystery, but murder plot kind of film plays out. And the enemy is not just another man, it's poverty, debt, foreclosure. And I even wrote this: the slow humiliation of being left behind. And the two brothers have that. Actually, the way the two brothers played out, especially towards the middle and end of the film, was something I wasn't expecting. And that's what really made that, even though I made that note earlier in the film, that slow humiliation of being left behind like that played out so much harder later on in the film.
I think what you just said about it being a Western without the frontier is really insightful. I think that's a really cool way to put it. And without going to specifics, I hate the person who I originally heard this quote from, but I love this quote. I think it's so true and it's sad. It's that most men live their lives in a state of quiet desperation. And I think that's profoundly true. And this movie explores that very well. And just how poverty and just sort of the system can make you desperate, and the desperation, and the I don't want to say crazy, but the extreme lengths that desperation will push people to. I think this movie does a great job of talking about those ideas.
It does. And speaking of extreme lengths, Mike, we're not avoiding spoilers for a movie that's 10 years old, are we?
I think that it doesn't make any sense too. So just a heads up right now, if you're listening, like there are some things that you're going to get spoiled. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything that's that wild to spoil from this anyway. There's no big twists.
When he's talking about desperation, I'm like, now's probably the time to say what they're desperate about.
I will say before we dive in, one thing for the spoiler alert crowd just is that the movie does like reveal things slowly. Now there is no big twist, but like if you could watch the first half of this movie and not really understand the motivation yet.
Yeah.
So like
totally
that,
agree. Yeah.
And so like we are going to spoil that. But like, I mean, this isn't the kind of movie we can talk about without, spoiling those little things. So
yeah. So and that desperation is not loud at first. It's tired and practical and kind of almost polite. For example, the very first robbery, Toby and his brother both even kind of, they don't commiserate after, but they criticize how each other handled the robbery in the car after. Like, and even they're actually doing it even to the victims during the first robbery, as they said, no, we're not stealing from you.
I love that.
We're stealing from the bank.
Or even I love the little moment when sorry to interrupt, but first of all, Chris Pine is fucking fantastic.
I love him in this.
It's fucking fantastic. They're both incredible. And Ben Foster is just a go-to when you just want a guy who's an absolute fucking loose unit. He crushes it at doing that, and he's an underrated guy. I think Chris Pine's actually underrated in general as well.
Oh yeah, and in this movie, like, I agree. I completely agree, because I think Chris Pine is the best performance. And then I saw that Jeff Bridges is nominated for this movie, which I didn't remember. And I will say that, like, of those three, Jeff Bridges is my least favorite performance.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff Bridges just plays your angry, like, you should love me because I'm a racist asshole uncle who happened to be a cop.
He's not flexing any muscles.
No.
Really there. But the thing I was going to say, I love the little moment when in the first bank and it's like she calls them stupid and a few minutes go by and Ben Foster's like, you're stupid. Like that bothered him.
That first scene, like we as a film watching society talk a lot about big moments. I think the big one that people think of is The Dark Knight with the Joker and like setting up something so fully in one scene and like letting us know the dynamics so quickly. And this movie does a great job with that, which, immediately by the time the end of that first bank robbery is done, we know that one brother is not only the loose cannon, but he's the more insecure. One is polite, which, establishes pretty quickly. We learn that, and we throughout the movie see like, oh, this was like a last, like a last resort for him, whereas for his brother, this wasn't even the first
day at the
time
office.
he's done this.
Yes.
This stuff, like they establish their dynamic with each other, their dynamic with the world. They do so much of that in that first scene, and they do it with her calling him stupid, and there's no reason why he hits the guy in the face when he walks in. He doesn't need to do that, but he does it. Like, they establish so much about both of those characters immediately, and it's really effective writing.
Yeah.
It's a classic show don't tell.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it's just good writing.
Everyone in this movie is chasing some form of dignity, and almost nobody can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
So both the Rangers, the waitress who is who's the girl that was in who is My Name is Earl. She was also in Eastbound and Down.
My Name is
Eastbound
Earl.
and Down.
Eastbound
Yeah.
Down.
Eastbound and Down.
Wait, she wasn't in My Name is Earl too? I thought she was.
May have had a moment on there, but her big thing was Eastbound and Down.
So
she's also on that atrocious Mike and Molly show on CBS.
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking.
Where the joke is, every joke is just, they're fat.
Yeah. So all of the characters, even the small time characters, can't afford to get out of their slump, which really adds so much to that. Just the West is gone, but all of the bad shit still remains. And Toby is reckless. He's not reckless. He's kind of measured and quiet. And I mean, even I never thought Toby was very much of a violent guy, or even like a big swinging, a big take a swing kind of guy, until the last like 2 scenes, which is really when I'm like, oh, you'd fuck someone up. Now you would fuck someone up, but before it was always just almost casually, just emotionally, like flatlined.
Well,
I don't know that I agree with that.
Shows a dark, I think he shows a darkness throughout the movie. Like a great example is when, and it's just a fun scene anyway. Is when they're at the gas station.
Yeah, I knew what you were going to say.
Ben Foster is just sitting in. Chris Pine goes inside to get something, and Ben Foster's just sitting there in his car, and these kind of kids pull up, like maybe early 20s, in sort of a souped up green muscle car.
Oh, the Challenger. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what?
And
they're
you're
blasting
right.
music.
That was his violent outburst. Good call. That was.
And I love Ben. And they're just like, and Ben Foster's just kind of just sitting there, just looking at them, and they're like, what the fuck you looking at? And
I told you, there's 20 of me.
No, he's like, boy, you think there's 10 of me?
Oh, so 10 of you? Yeah, you think there's 10 of me?
And he's just so casual, and when he pulls the gun out, and just fucking Chris Pine just comes out of nowhere and just rocks this fucking guy.
Yeah,
just fucking bashes his head off his own car.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes to the other guy, and his buddy's like, he deserves it.
He asked for it. He had it coming. That's what it was.
I love that entire scene. I also love that when they're driving away, Ben Foster says, now I'm mad at you. He goes, now I'm mad at you because you got Mr. Pibb instead of Dr. Pepper.
Mr.
He's like, he just saved your life, and because you were being an idiot, running your mouth. And I love that scene. That scene is like the highlight. Like the movie's great. I'm not trying to knock the movie, but that scene is the cherry.
It is, Toby is the respectable face of desperation. It's like all the same rot, but just a cleaner shirt. Now that you mentioned that was the violent outburst, I actually made a note that was one of my favorite scenes as well. But all his interactions with other people are like almost sympathetic. Like The second robbery in the beginning of the film, where he takes the gun out of the old man's holster but puts it on the counter.
Yeah.
Within arm's reach of the old man.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well, there is, I think that, and I think that we see that reflected back a couple times when we see how unwilling to help some people are, because they're like, Midland Bank sucks. Like, and I think he's like, this bank is fucking this whole community. So like, I'm not, they're not trying to take the people's money. They're trying to take the bank's money.
Mm-hmm.
And then B, he's like, even though his brother is, doesn't give a shit, he's like, I don't need to mistreat these people because these people are as much a victim as my mother was, as I am.
Yeah.
And I think that he's more conscientious of it. I don't take that as necessarily like a placidity as much as I think of it as like purposeful. Whereas his brother is, if I knock over something, on my way in, I don't give a shit. Like,
Yeah. Well, I didn't quite understand the reason they were all Midlands. I thought that was because they were small, tiny banks that, for example, didn't have video surveillance until the crazy brother robbed the one across from the
which
cafe.
wasn't a Midland.
Which wasn't a Midland. So
Right.
so like there was enough planning that had gone into this that I thought it was just because they were small time banks. It wasn't until about halfway through the film that they talked about the loan to their mother, and I'm like, oh, you guys are fucking Robin Hooding this shit. The irony is brutal. They rob branches of the very institution that is stripping the families of the land and their autonomy, that has created the poverty that is around them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to like Mike mentioned, it rolls out the details as the movie moves on. It's not like setup and then explanation, which is a lot weaker of writing to me. This writing holds better. So it isn't until later on that it's Midlands was the one that wrote the reverse mortgage on my mom's property that there's oil on, and this entire film is trying to get the money so that they don't foreclose on the property so we can set up our family for the rest of their lives. Like, that's what it is. That's the whole film. And you don't notice that till like maybe half-ish way through.
Yeah. I also love that by the end of by the last robbery, roughly, we realize that neither brother thinks they're walking away, because because Chris Pine.
They even say it early.
Yeah.
Ben Foster said,
they do.
like, you ever hear about somebody getting away with anything? I think it's actually when they're in the diner. But go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
No, I was going to say, because when we see Chris Pine talking to his son and saying, like,
that's what I was thinking. The son is like, you're going to hear some bad things about me.
And the son goes, I won't believe him. And he goes, believe them. Like,
you
because he's not,
them. You should.
He's not proud of the process, but he is, he's willing, and he doesn't want his son, doesn't want his son to like feel like some kind of hero worship for him when he doesn't feel like he deserves it. But but that isn't enough of an excuse to not give his children what he can give them. And then you like get the feeling like, oh, he thinks he's either going to prison or he's getting killed. And then very clearly, based on the way Ben Foster's character finishes things up, it's like, oh, he wasn't planning on trying to escape.
Yeah, when they drove the opposite directions.
Huh? Well, it was like Cootie.
Yeah.
I think it was just like, this guy is just, he's got a screw loose, and it's not in control, and he's just happy. Yeah, he's doing this because this is his brother, but he enjoys the violence. He enjoys the adrenaline. He would just like Jeff
Marcus
says
even
at the end
touches
of
on
the
that.
film. Well, yeah, Jeff Bridges says at the end of the film, like, your brother would have just kept going.
Yeah,
and
like,
when
you had a plan, I know that, because he's not that. Bridges has probably seen that type a million times throughout his career as a Texas Ranger.
And that was revealed when Marcus and Alberto were talking about the robbery of the branch across from the cafe. And he's like, it wasn't a Midlands. Wait, there was only one guy here? Yeah, there was, when he's talking to the young girl. I think she said her name was Martinez. She's like, nope, he was only one guy. Well, what kind of car did they drive away in? Was it a nice car or an old car? okay, was it a piece of shit or a nice car? And she says, a piece of shit. And I looked at my wife and I said, an early 2000s Ford Taurus is a piece of shit.
Yeah,
Actually, it was the nicest
any
piece of
era
shit in the
found.
whole film. It had all its body panels
well,
and didn't have any obvious dents or damage.
anybody else sort of like fuck Jeff Bridges in this movie?
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
every time he made a racist comment, my wife and I looked at each other like, dude, we
No, that's
get
not really
it.
what I mean. I mean, that's what he is. Like,
Well, I know,
he's
I
a
know.
West Texas guy. But it's more just like, fuck you. Like, let the fucking waitress keep her money.
Yeah.
You know? And
Oh,
it's like,
that, yeah.
Or okay,
And
I'll
actually,
take
I
those
thought she
two.
kept
You
her
give
money.
me.
Yep. Actually,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what I said to my wife. I was like, why can't they just trade the money for money? Don't they keep that stuff at the police station? Other
Yeah.
bills?
I don't think she fucking had to give it to them, but who
No,
knows?
probably not.
We don't see how it resolved because he sends
But we
his
learn,
partner to go.
yeah. But
to
we
go
learn
get
when
it.
he goes back after he retired, because the current police chief says, yeah, she was kind of mad that you took her money, and he was just like, well, come on, dude.
Yeah,
She was a
and
spirited
even,
lady.
I mean, do you guys? Well, because I mean, we're getting into the meat of the movie.
Yeah.
Even how he ends it, it's like I really want Chris Pine to, and it's okay. This is something we actually haven't talked about really at all. Is why this is a great Western.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a great Western for a couple of reasons, because it like what makes it a Western. These are outlaws. They're being chased by the man with the star badge,
Mhm.
and everything about it just feels like how it's shot, the locations, the desolation of it, the cast, like the type of people they surround themselves with. It just feels like they took a story that takes place in 1880 and just plopped it into 2006 or whatever the fuck it's supposed to be, and part of it is uh, a big part of what makes a Western, and I'm sure you guys, I'm be surprised if you guys haven't touched on this in some of your other stuff already, is they're not stories about the law. They're stories about what's right and what's wrong.
It's big morality plays. Yeah.
Yeah, and even a lot of times, even the people who are the lawman, it's almost all the time in westerns, like the lawman is not really there to enforce the law. He's there
No.
to go by his own code of what he thinks is right.
Yeah.
And
I was about to mention it really makes out the lawman to be flawed just enough to keep him human as a character, so that the audience doesn't see them as like an absolute hero. They see them as like the everyday hero more than the superhero. Like, oh, you're a little crumbled, you're a little flawed, but you did the right thing.
Well, what makes it different here, I think, what makes this interesting, the vast majority of the time, like I said, the lawman would be a much more sympathetic character. Like you'd be rooting for him.
Yeah.
And the line between him and Jeff and him and Chris Pine would be much more blurry and gray. And I mean, at the end of it, it's Chris Pine basically, and it's also just a classic Western where they just sort of leave it with these two men are gonna have. It's not about like I'm not gonna get evidence. Like one of us is gonna die.
Right. I don't need
evidence.
Find out. This is gonna end with you dead.
We both know what fucking happened, and Chris Pine's like, I've never killed anybody before, but if you want to do this, old man, pull out your gun. And then perfectly timed, his ex-wife shows up, and it's just like I feel like he's there more just because he's bored and he's old and he's an asshole. And he's got
absolutely.
nothing better to do. So he's like, I'm gonna fucking maybe get killed by this guy, and because fuck it. But I don't think he's that deep enough to even realize that's what he's actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've got, like I said,
I
this
I
is probably more of a hot take.
Well,
yeah.
This is how much I
no,
dislike Jeff Bridges.
no,
And
I
I
that's not
fucking
as
no.
love Jeff Bridges.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever had a fucking movie where I've disliked, and he has his moments where he's charming, but
Yeah.
I don't like the things he does. You know, it's not
Yeah.
like he's a bad to watch, but
no.
So I
they
agree.
let,
I
Was he
think that
written to
like
be hated? You think?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think that like one of the things that we
Good
see
question.
in one of the things that we see in westerns too is that, especially in these modern westerns, is that like you were saying, Paul, that westerns are about what's right, and what's right felt much more black and white 150
Yeah.
years ago, and now when we're looking forward, it's like, oh yeah, no, like, these banks are predatory, and they are literally ruining, and in a lot of cases they may indirectly be killing these people, but we have a problem with it when someone actually pulls a gun and does it. And so there's that side of the morality struggle. And so when you then introduce a lawman who's, like you said, like the not enforcing the law but enforcing their own moral code, in this case there is an extent to which I would say that the law and his moral code are the same, but they are not what we as an audience would think is the correct moral code.
That's
Yeah,
a
Like,
great
okay, I
way to
can see
put it.
that.
so like I think that he is that substitute of like the law is flawed here because and not, I don't want to get necessarily political about it, but like there is these things that we see all throughout US history where somebody is legally in the right, but the effects of what they're doing are so terrible that it's like,
Yeah.
how can we not kind of side with the person who did the illegal thing to fix the situation? and
Oh
and
yeah, okay.
and I think that like Jeff Bridges is the like I that's what I don't like about his character. It works for the movie in a lot of ways, but what I don't like is that like he's unable to see that side of it. Like he can't even be like, hey, I don't like the way it is either with these banks, like, because a lot of people mentioned to him, like the witnesses at the diner and the other people outside the bank, they're like, they're fucking all of us, like we're
Yeah.
not going to give you any information. And he can't even be like, hey, I get it, nobody likes these big banks. He can't
No.
even do that. And that's where I kind
Oh,
of
good
think
point.
that because the law can't really do that, right? The law can't be like, like, yeah, you're
I
right,
like
this
that
sucks,
framing.
but like
He
And it's
knows it.
it.
Everyone knows it, but no one's going to help him because they're like, dude, we hate them too. We're
yeah,
not going to help you. We hope they
it's
get fucked. We're glad they got robbed.
yeah, it's not to get political, but it's the Luigi Mangione situation from a year and a half ago, where
Yeah.
you have a
Yeah.
whole bunch of people kind of going, yeah, I know that like that guy didn't directly pull the trigger, but like that guy's responsible. Not Luigi, the other guy that
The
Luigi
pen is
allegedly
mightier.
killed, and
Yep.
like that guy had, and it's the same mentality. Whether you agree with it or disagree with what happens there, you're like, yeah, I mean, this is a part where the law has failed society in some
Yeah.
way or another, and the only way to rectify that is to kind of take the law into your own hands.
To break the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, what I think is what that made me think about. I was watching a documentary on it was just on TV, and it was about how at one point there were 30 million bison in America, which is just insane to think.
Mm-hmm.
That we wiped out a species. There was probably literally there's more of them than there were like humans on planet Earth, like around that same time.
Yeah.
Because we had such a huge population boom over the last century.
Mhm.
Like I'm not gonna. I don't know if the numbers are remotely correct, but I know it was 30 million at one point. But
Yeah.
and it's just like our entire history is just soaked in blood and
Mhm.
just the conquest of the West is really just this story of genocide and greed and just the rape of nature.
No, and you
And
know what?
well,
That
that's what and you know and the law doesn't work. It's like these are the
yeah.
systems that are
Yeah.
doing these
Mhm.
horrific fucking things, and then you sort of have this period where we go into the Industrial Revolution, and it's more the robber baron era, and then we have sort of World War II, and for the only time in human history where we have this sort of unique magical period where the American middle class is born, which is a fucking total anomaly in human history.
Mhm.
And now, why a movie like Hell or High Water works even better now than when it was made, I feel like we're on the
True.
other side of that now.
Yeah.
I think you could almost see how this it's not as much of a parable anymore.
Yeah.
As much
No.
as it is
True. Yeah,
like, that just fucking happens.
yeah, it's no longer the
because
cautionary tale.
yeah, because everything you guys are saying, how it's like they hate the fucking bank, and it's the company, and how many I've said this so many times that I would argue that you'd have to give me time to pick them out specifically. That I would say most CEOs probably deserve to die more than like any given serial killer.
Yeah.
In terms of how many lives they destroy.
Yeah.
And that's why
Absolutely.
this works so well, both as a Western, and that's kind of why I went over that whole time period I just did,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
it's like, here we go again, and it kind of sucks because again, not to get political, I feel like we're not going to get that back.
No.
It's just like I kind
No,
of feel like
not the same way. And even that final conversation between Toby and Marcus, it's like morally poisoned in the best way for both of them. So
I did love
Marcus
that scene.
saying, huh?
I did love that final scene.
Oh yeah. Marcus trying to be like, well, I'm gonna go pay him a visit. And then showing up with a pistol, and damn Toby's standing there with a long gun, with a rifle. He's gonna be able to take you out before you even get to the front porch, but they still have a full conversation. And it ends with Toby saying, well, the moment you reach for that, I'm gonna paint you all over my front porch. So how about you just leave? And then and the way that his ex-wife is just there, where they clearly are no longer in love, but he's making sure to set her and his kids up in the best way he managed to in all of his desolation. It still happened. And I would believe that a good question is, does Hell or High Water argue that the American dream is even still possible? Or just that people will kill to preserve the illusion of it for their families or for their children?
Well, I'll say first of all, again, just I'll be the Western guy here.
Yeah.
Everything
Good, 'cause
going
I'm
on
not.
with everything going. Well, you still got some great insights, regardless. But uh, everything with Jeff Bridges and Chris Pine in that final scene is just quintessential Western stuff.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah.
Even the blocking,
shots.
the blocking with him on
Right,
the other
yep.
side of the fence, and they're like basically 6 paces away from each other. Like there is so
Mhm.
much there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it also drives the point that I'm sort of making about how much of a piece of shit I think Jeff Bridges is in the end, because then, like you just pointed out, Alex, like he sees where this money went,
Mhm.
and he still wants to kill this guy.
Yep.
Like no part of him has any fucking sympathy for this. Like
No, that I think there was that line where they were talking about Alberto getting killed. And then
Yeah.
he says, "Oh yeah, what about your partner's family?" And then Jeff Bridges says, "Well, he doesn't have pump jacks in his yard."
yeah.
So he's like, "Yeah, my partner's dead, but his family's not taken care of." And then
Right.
Toby
But
kind
they,
of says, "You had jobs.
I didn't kill him.
Yeah, I didn't kill him,
Yeah.
and you guys have jobs. You got some manner of income that my family does not. So
Yeah.
pump jacks it is."
And Bridges does these fucking mental gymnastics, like, oh, you didn't kill him, but you set it all in motion, and
Yeah,
all this bullshit.
you didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, and I want to answer your question, Alex. I think about the American Dream.
Mhm.
I think this is like one of the few movies where it's like I kind of believe that in my core. I think in this world right now, if you really want something, you got to fucking take it. And it was nice to see. That's what you got to do. It's like, how do you think these other people get rich and successful?
Yeah,
they've just
take advantage of
everybody
others.
over.
Yep.
And yeah, and just it's really no different morally.
No.
Than what Chris Pine did, and
Yeah.
you could definitely. It's like the brother is a different animal. You know, like Ben Foster. This guy's a fucking lunatic. You know, but it's Chris Pine's. He's making the American dream. He's making sure that exists for his children. You know, so
even if they don't like him.
Yeah, he's
like there's so many opportunities for him to just go, fuck you, kid, and my ex. But he has a sense of duty that he won't kick. And he's willing to risk his life, his brother's life, his family's fortune for this, even if they're thankless about it. So now they're not thankless about it, as far as I can tell. But
yep, another classic Western trope.
I was about to say it's a classic Western trope. Yeah.
One thing that I do want to say about that, like, American dream piece is that, like, generational wealth is a part of that American dream for so many people, like setting your family up to do better and better. Yeah. And that is clearly on display here. But one of the things that I think is really interesting is that if you look into a lot of those big generational wealth families, the first generation was doing stuff that was either immoral or illegal, and then it gets laundered. And so by him setting up the trust so that essentially they can't touch that money, even if they discover where that money came from, is the same thing as, like, because you know, like the Kennedys ran alcohol in the Prohibition, and you can't go take, you know, RFK Jr.'s money because his grandfather did something, even if that money came from, you know, what is it, the tainted fruit of the tree
fruit
or whatever.
Fruit of the tainted tree,
right?
I think it's the phrase.
That doesn't work when it comes to generational wealth, and that's like a thing that has become part of the unspoken part of the American dream, which is like, yeah, America went and stole all this land, and now it's hundreds of years later, and when people are like, well, you know, this was originally our land, it's like, well, my family's been here for 120 years or whatever. And it's like where it creates this new moral gap too of like, well, you know, who's right here, who's wrong here, because the really wrong people were so far back. And this is the beginning of that, in 2030, what's their family name?
Well, let me have both of you guys seen Game of Thrones in its entirety?
No,
yes, I have.
But enough.
Oh, well, no, but like, you'll still get the point. So, Mike, you might remember this scene. There's a scene in the final season where there's this, Alex, do you remember the character Bronn? If you've seen any of the show, he's sort of like the mercenary Tyrion, sort of like Tyrion's guy.
Yeah.
Like, so in the final season, he and Tyrion throughout the series have this thing where Tyrion's like, hey, if somebody wants you to fucking kill me, betray me, I'll fucking always double it. So come to me first. And like, he and his brother, Tyrion and Jaime, are sitting in this bar, and their sisters sent Bronn up there to kill them. And Tyrion to up his sister's bounty offers him up Highgarden, which is like one of the great houses of the Seven Kingdoms. And Jaime says something like along the lines of one of the great houses could never be owned by no cutthroat will ever hold that land or whatever. And Bronn goes like, how do you think your fucking ancestors got where they got? They were hard bastards like themselves who killed as many as they could and started one of these houses, and then they had their cock-sucking children to continue their cock-sucking ways.
Yeah.
That's just what it made me think of. He's basically just like a fucking scumbag cutthroat like me, killed enough people to start the great houses.
Yeah.
And then you guys just fucking sucked off the teat of that.
Yeah.
That's what made me think of.
And eventually we get to the point where those people become mythological, right? Those people who were like Chris Pine's character 150 years ago, Henry Ford created the car, and this person did that, and you're like, and not just for the family, but like, us as Americans talking about the
Industrial
Revolution. Vanderbilts and the Fords and Rockefellers, and you're like, if we,
Cunts.
yeah.
So you Paul, talking about that this is Yellowstone scriptwriter, right?
Yep.
I imagine that I would like Yellowstone because for me, one of my notes is the script is lean, it's mean, it has no fat, no speeches, no pretentious like addresses to camera or explanations of something that just happened, pretending to be like philosophy or framework that wasn't well acted out. And it's
There's
not
a lot of that in Yellowstone.
Okay, good. Because like Mike knows my favorite genre is science fiction, specifically the subgenre of cyberpunk. Like that is my absolute wet dream of a film. To direct, to make, to shoot, like that kind of thing. I could take a building down with the heart on I'd have to make that kind of film. But those films can be a big deal because there's so much action. It keeps your attention John Wick style, where there's always something fancy happening. There's always something big happening. This film hit script-wise because the shootouts are not that action-y in the sense that there's a lot of like quick action panning and stuff like that. In fact, the camera's kind of static for a lot of it. And the script is what hit this over and over and over again for me. So if this is Yellowstone, I could be game for that. And the dialogue feels like lived in. None of them, I mean, most of the films that Mike is having us watch and I'm suggesting, none of these are like subjectively bad films except for A Christmas Story.
But fuck that movie.
I'm so glad. I didn't know what you were about to say about it. I was like, I don't know if he's one of the haters or the people who love that.
I was going to boot him if he liked it, or we were going to completely transition this episode to why is that a good film, you idiot? So,
and I couldn't defend that.
So much of this dialogue feels lived in, and the reason I say the films that he's had us watch and I've suggested is because none of these are objectively bad, and I've watched bad films before where this person rehearsed these lines 100 times and they're delivering it in this formulaic from memory kind of thing.
Yeah.
All this dialogue feels so lived in. Nobody sounds like they know they're in an important movie. This almost, in some scenes, felt like a stylized documentary or docuseries more than it was us watching a Western like High Noon.
Right. It's just a fucking great, beautiful movie. It really is. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. What you're saying there, Alex. And even like two things. I love how it opens, and I love how it ends. Just like from the shots, from the very beginning. When they're driving through the town right before they rob the first bank, you immediately, it's just this fucking desolate, bombed out town. It's just awful. You immediately get the sense of how poverty stricken the place is.
Yes,
it's a great storytelling establishing. I wouldn't say it's like establishing shot, but maybe like sequence or whatever. Then there's that. And then there's just the fucking, and that speaks to the themes of the movie. And then I love that final shot of Jeff Bridges driving off into that beautiful sky, with the expansive fields around him, which just feels very quintessential of John Ford, John Wayne, to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
The camera also
Michael's favorite thing,
sinks.
solar flare.
The camera, the camera sinks down too while it's showing that to a land angle view, which is great
Oh,
too,
yeah.
because
Yep.
so much of this movie, even though we don't talk about land that much, the movie is about land and what
It is,
land
yeah.
represents as far
I
as
like how it basically falls into the dirt. And the other thing that I noticed is usually when I've seen a film where they try to show how desolate something is, they'll take aerial shots looking down to try to show the expanse of this. A lot of the perspectives are like belly or crotch level. Like they're really lower. And in fact, one of the most desolate or like poverty looking things in the very first robbery when the bank manager's arriving, that camera is nearly on the damn ground looking kind of up through that cinder block 1950s 60s style architecture, and it's looking kind of up at like a 30-degree-ish angle. And so much of this is not first person perspective or even that overhead perspective. So much of it is looking up, and that final scene seals it as the camera just right into the grass. And I enjoy how when they're driving, they're just showing us door level. Like seriously, that's what I'm saying. It's like crotch level. It's not way
They
up
never
here. It's
go
not even
above
first
the
person. It's
car.
that hair lower.
Yeah, I didn't notice it until you really just said it, but you're absolutely fucking right. Like even when they're in the car, sometimes there'll be like just an overhead shot of the car, even like just 10 feet above, and they don't do anything like that. It's
No,
always from the
there's nothing like
side.
that.
You're always parallel to them at the most.
Yeah.
And I think that very end where it goes up in the sky and then back down to the ground is the only time in the movie they even do that.
They really do like a high aerial like tilt, yeah. And the other storytelling with a camera that I liked was when they were driving away, when the brothers were driving away from the casino. It was placed so that there's just a full rotation in the car, and then as it comes down to the other side, you see the reflection of the Casino 66 in the window. And it's just
cool.
a clean rotate all the way around with the two of them in the car. And then you see 66 as they're driving away. That was one of my notes that I said that's just pretty. And it tells so much about we're leaving the casino behind. We're done laundering the money. Doo-doo-doo. And then it just spins around like that. And it gives good closure to that section of the film. And although I wanted to see, I really wanted to see his brother beat up or have another like altercation with a woman in the casino, because I thought that was like a funny kind of scene. At the same time,
that's an interesting
it only
take.
had to happen that one time. What?
That's an interesting take that you thought that was a funny scene.
Well,
I thought that was like, oh, this guy is like we see him unhinged, but I was like, oh, he might murder a prostitute right now.
And to me, that's why it's funny. It was funny to me for two reasons. First of all, it clearly, that interaction between two people at this casino is not out of place. Right. Whereas if you did that in Mohegan Sun, security would immediately show up and escort you out. Whereas in this seedy ass casino in Texas, although the film was shot in New
Oklahoma.
Mexico. Huh?
That part they're in Oklahoma.
Oh, that's right. That was in Oklahoma. Good point. So even though
the hooker in Mohegan Sun, Mike's biography.
so no, like I actually, when I was watching it, I expected security to come up and escort both brothers out and her. But instead, the brother just says, "Oh, no, just had too much to drink. It's good. I kind of sexually assaulted her right here, but that's fine."
Like
I also think that's
why
because
it was funny to me. Like
I think
should
that they
be a
allow
problem, but in this seedy ass casino, it's like, oh, it's a Tuesday.
I think that if he had behaved that way towards a non prostitute in the casino, he would have had more of a problem with security. I think that they were like,
hold on. You just add another layer. So what you're saying is even the staff knew that was a prostitute, and they're like,
Oh, for sure.
Probably. I
dude,
would
that's
think so.
even that makes it even better that's why it wasn't a big deal, because it wasn't an actual customer of the casino.
Well,
It was
also,
a girl whose pimp is upstairs ready to mug who she takes to the room. Like, that's I didn't even think of that shit. Okay.
Yeah,
Definitely
no,
not something that would
think
happen in Mohegan Sun.
I think they don't want a scene, but if they don't care about that girl like at all, like it's not like
she's unimportant. Do you think that's the woman he's actually having sex with in the hotel room?
No.
You do think it's someone different?
I don't think she was going to go back with. I think she looks like. I mean, she talks back a little bit at the end, which is surprising. But I think she knows an unhinged, crazy guy, and when she sees him, and she knows that her life might be in danger, her safety's in danger if she goes with him. I don't think that's her in the bedroom.
So speaking of the bedroom, another storytelling. Alberto and what's Bridges?
Marcus.
Alberto and Marcus in his hotel room, because he's such a lonely ass man, he won't go into his other hotel room. And I like how Marcus says, well, what's the fun in that? He's like, don't you have your own room? But while Marcus is in the room with Alberto, and Alberto rolls over, and we just see the second person view of Alberto and then Jeff Bridges in the background, it's the same layout with the two brothers while he's having sex with that girl. Is you see Toby roll over, and then his brother is having sex with the prostitute in the background. That's all like you still hear everything, and the same thing with the hotel room with the two rangers or police officers, is you hear the TV. So the TV is the girl, and then in the room, and then the otherwise them rolling over, and just that view back, that was like ideal mirror storytelling. And it's not the first time that the two brothers are sort of mirrors of the two sheriffs. There's times where this plays a little bit the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even their relationship. Yeah, you're right. There's how they talk to each other. It's definitely there. Yeah, and it's one of those things that, again, sort of is obvious when you kind of point it out. Yeah. But
I didn't notice, but now that you say it,
yeah, I totally agree.
All right. This is going to be a real hot take that I think you're both going to disagree with me on. So there's a thing that I think happens when actors, especially older actors, win an Oscar after a long career, and that is, I think they get stuck a little bit in the character that they, or the mannerisms of the character that they won with.
Yeah.
He wins the Oscar in 2009. Jeff Bridges wins the Oscar in 2009 for Crazy Heart. And I think that if you look at a couple of years later, he gets nominated for True Grit, which is fairly, very
similar to this character.
Yeah. It's that same, all three characters are that like Southern drawl grumbliness. And I think like now I kind of think we associate that with Jeff Bridges, but like Iron Man's a year before Crazy Heart. And I think Obadiah Stane is a very different characterization in the way he speaks, and so like we know Jeff Bridges has range, and then he gets very typecast into, and I can't help but see that, and like to me I was like, why did he get nominated? He won for Crazy Heart, and then he got nominated for True Grit, and it's like you're doing the same trick now. Like Al Pacino's my go-to argument for this. Like after Scent of a Woman, like every movie for 5 to 10 years felt like he was going hoo-ah, like
he was on a lot of coke.
Okay, fair.
Have you ever heard him talk about that?
No,
it's really funny. Like he talks about Heat.
Yeah,
he's like, you seem like character do a lot of crazy things, and he the implication was he had a bit of a coke problem.
And the implication was that he had a coke problem. I like that.
It didn't make it in the movie, but
Yeah.
Let me just say I went a little method on that one. It was great. It was great. There's more. He says more funny shit like that.
Yeah.
But like that's the only part of the quote I remember. So it's basically said like cause she's got a great ass.
And you had your head all the way up it. I love
So,
Give me what
I-
you got. Give me what you got.
So when you point out, when you point out what he won for,
Yeah.
and that everything else has kind of been that, look at his character in Tron. It is kind of that.
Well, but okay, so Tron was him revisiting a character.
No, I know.
And
but
Tron,
if you
I
look
don't
at
think
the two
is
ways it's played, Tron Legacy, it's more hardened, old.
I'm talking as much vocally though as I am talking about anything else with Jeff Bridges.
Okay.
Because the dude doesn't sound like this, and
Good
Obadiah
point.
Stane doesn't sound like this, but now he's just gonna kind of mumble and do a southern mumble accent, like in everything. You know,
I'm
like,
with you on this hot take, Mike.
Oh, yeah,
No,
good.
I'm aligning with you.
and then when I saw that
when you
he got
describe
nominated,
Pacino, same thing.
yeah. When I saw that he got nominated, I was like, Chris Pine is the one who should be getting nominated for this movie.
Absolutely.
Oh, no joke.
Like Chris Pine, he gives a variety of range, right? Like, because I think that sometimes if you could play a character perfectly, but if there's not a variety of range, the Academy can't see the quality there. But he does, between the final scene with Jeff Bridges and the scene where he beats up the guy, and when he's talking to his son, and all the other moments, like, he's not playing a flat performance. Or a completely level-headed performance. He's playing with a wide range in a like tighter scope. And I think that I think Chris Pine's the standout here, which I don't think is that controversial of a take, but I think that it's wild to me that if you got to pick a performance from this, and typically the way it works,
you pick Bridges, right?
The studio pushes one or the other, right? The studio pushes for these categories, and I think that this is Chris Pine. I've seen a lot of Chris Pine movies, and he's good in a lot of things. This is
one of his best.
This is and I don't, because he would have been a leading actor. That's the only caveat I have, is that he'd have been in the leading actor category, not the supporting actor category. And I don't know what was that year, what he would have been up against. But like, Chris Pine I think this is a career high for him.
I really think that the film Hell or High Water, it's not anti-American. It's really anti-delusion. So it is showing all of the bad that can come with trying to do the right thing, in the sense of, morality, bending law and bending the rules to in the case of taking care of his family, that he's no longer even married to the woman, making sure that they're taken care of, and putting it in a trust, because he still doesn't exactly trust them to not be stupid with it, but he definitely doesn't trust the bank not to be stupid with it. And
I will say,
it's a commentary on his family, though.
I don't think so either. Trusts a lot of times aren't just because, like, oh, these kids are kids. It's a lot of times like I've been going through this with my parents. I've been going through it with my parents because when my dad found out he had Alzheimer's, he got all of their belongings put into a trust that my sister and I are the beneficiaries of, because that way, if something legal happens and he has to pay a bunch of medical bills, they can't take my mom's house away from her.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it's a matter. That's what partly why it's like you can't get into trouble that is out of your control, essentially.
And they're dealing with oil companies and shit in that instance. Specifically,
well, the trust is clearly to stop outsiders from fucking with it, but I come from a family that used them so that the family wasn't stupid with them.
I mean, that's a fair point,
I think he just wanted to guarantee that legacy.
He did.
He has that whole speech at the end of the movie.
It's like poverty's like a disease.
Yeah, he calls it generational.
Do we recommend this film?
Yes.
I give it big fucking yes.
Absolutely.
If you're a fan of, like, noir, neo-noir, westerns, neo-westerns, it's a movie for you. Or if you just like want to watch a good fucking movie.
Yeah,
You know?
I think that it's definitely a good entry into those categories. But yeah, I could suggest this to like my dad who doesn't love westerns or anything, would be like, this is a good movie. Like,
it definitely transcends genre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, now for ratings, Paul. So we do a 10 scale rating in 2 categories. I kind of explained this last night, but so we do fun and watchability as our first category, and then we do quality of filmmaking as our second category. So for fun and watchability, what do you give this?
Ooh, I give this a fucking 9, I think.
Okay. Just to be upfront, because I can see Alex's score, all 3 of us gave this a 9 for fun and watchability. So
because I've seen it a couple times at this point, and I'm like and Alex pointed out multiple fucking times that this is a movie you could come back to and see shit that you didn't see the fucking first time.
Agreed.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I would also give in terms of how it's made as a film, I think because of what I just said, again, like there's all this stuff I picked up about why I think it's great. Yep. And then there's stuff you guys have mentioned why you think it's great that I didn't even fucking think of. So I would give it probably 9 out of 10 there as well.
Okay. So you're both 9s? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fun and watchability is a 9, not a 10, because the 10s are reserved for have I ever given something a 10? No, I haven't.
Not in fun and watchability.
The other 9s are American Fiction, Tick, Tick, Boom, I'm Up at Christmas Carol, That Shall Not Be Dethroned. And those are my other 9s. So for fun and watchability, it's up there.
Yeah. So you gave it a 9 for quality as well. I mentioned that I gave it a 9 for fun and watchability, but for quality, I gave this a 7. Okay. Mostly because there was some like weird little cinematography things that I didn't get into.
I was going to mention some of them. Yeah,
it just didn't stand out in certain spots where I was like, this could be stronger. It was good, and like I would love to make a 7. So like, and also I feel like we're always going to rate a little worse than the guests because we're doing it every week.
What did you have it as, Alex?
I have it as a 7, and I have one. Okay. And I have one big reason why. This was shot in 2.39 to 1. Okay. So it was shot in a pretty wide aspect ratio. Okay. Mm-hmm. In 2016, there was so much more that could be done with that to lift this film's quality, other than just, hey, we shot it in wide. So if you're going to go out of your way to use ARRI Alexas and anthropomorphic lenses to get so much of this expanse, we've watched films that were done in wide format that took better advantage of it. This felt somewhat, not completely, that we had Gilles Nutgens saying, ooh, I want to shoot in super wide just because it's cool, but then never really wringing its neck and getting everything out of it.
Okay, that's fairly specific.
What?
No, I was like, there's some cinematography stuff that I thought could be better. And you were like,
again, with my less specific or intelligent take, because I don't make films, that's the big piece that it took me. And the reason I noticed that is because in my notes, it took me 45 minutes to say, oh shit, this isn't super wide. And then I paused it and looked it up, and it's 2.39 to 1. Whereas normal 69 is 1.7. So this is a film that I wanted to have everything look so much more desolate and gross, but that was done more with like the angles of the cameras, like we were saying earlier, and less
Yeah.
about just how big and ugly it looked.
Well, the
And
sets and stuff were pretty, like or not just the. I don't know if you like the locations they chose. I thought, and that's a different thing than what
it is
than what you're
somewhat,
talking
but
about.
that still is all part of quality. To me, it's
Yeah.
still all part of quality. So if you shot this in New Mexico, I like how they didn't use any New Mexican obvious landmarks that made it clear it's not in Texas.
Mhm.
But there were still times where I'm thinking, Gills, you could have took so much more advantage of this, and you didn't. And there are films that Nutgens has done that are fan freaking tastic use of cinematography more so than this. And and Mike and I have talked about this before. There are those films where you can feel that cinematography or director just wanted to flex or use the cool toy, but didn't get to use full advantage of it just because they now have the money or the access to it. And
Okay.
to even get the opportunity to use something like that and then to have it be good but not great, a 7's not bad. A 7's a C. C's graduate. But
I'm not arguing.
C's get degrees.
I'm just curious about
Yeah.
what your thoughts were. What else has this guy done? This director?
Not much.
Director or
I looked him
cinematographer?
up. No, the director. The director has done. His name is David Mackenzie, and like under the known for, it's a movie called Starred Up, which I have not heard of, from 2013. Perfect Sense from 2011. Also haven't heard of that one. Hallam Foe from 2007.
He's really cranking out some hits.
He did a couple episodes of Under the Banner of Heaven, which I did hear about. I've
never even heard of that show.
It's Andrew Garfield.
Fuse.
So Under the Banner of Heaven's a miniseries with Andrew Garfield investigating some Mormon thing. It was a book by Krakauer.
John Krakow?
Yeah.
The guy who wrote Into Thin Air?
Yep. Yeah, he wrote this other nonfiction book about some cover-up in murder cover-up or something in the Mormon church. I haven't watched or read it yet.
Is Relay his most recent?
Fuse looks like it's his most recent.
Fuse is more recent? Okay.
Which is Aaron Taylor Johnson, Theo James, Sam Worthington. So he works with like decent-sized casts, but I don't recognize the names of any of his movies other than this one.
Yeah.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that doesn't always mean that he's bad. It just could mean that nothing is clicked, like.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This I think that this was a really good it's
big
also
standout for David. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we are going to be wrapping up Westerns Month with my mom as our guest next week. No, we're going to be watching The Harder They Fall, which I haven't seen. I don't think Alex has seen, and my mom hasn't seen. Paul, out of curiosity, have you seen The Harder They Fall?
Who's in it?
It's Idris Elba.
I'm
Lindo.
a big Idris Elba fan.
The Harder They Fall. Jonathan Majors, Zazie Beetz.
I'm not sure.
Since then,
Delroy Lindo.
Is Delroy Lindo in it?
Delroy Lindo's the fucking man.
Yeah,
you're not joking. Lakeith Stanfield.
Lakeith Stanfield, who's great in everything. It's a heavy hitter movie. If you haven't already, please go hit like and subscribe. If you're interested in seeing our episodes early, there's a link down there where you can, for $26 a year, or $26 this year, you can see the rest of the episodes for the year as soon as they're done editing before they come out. Thank you, Paul, for coming on.
Guys, it was a fucking delight.
We will definitely be asking you to come back when we have another movie and or topic that I think works with you. I would love that. Absolutely great to have you on. And if you haven't already, to our audience, go check out Paul's website and check out the his Kryptonian epic guide, because it's what'd you call it? Sorry,
I called it a source book.
Source book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically what it is.
Yeah,
you explained it very well, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, thank you all.
Bye, guys.
Appreciate it, guys.